Welcome back to Smart Traveler Memoirs. Today we are breaking down diffusion, osmosis, and active transport, and the mistakes students always get wrong in exams. Diffusion, osmosis, and active transports are membrane transport processes. They are not classified as major physiological processes themselves, but they are integral parts of physiological processes like respiration, circulation, and homeostasis. Transport mechanisms, that is, diffusion, osmosis, and active transports, are not usually listed as physiological processes on their own, but they are fundamental sub-processes that make physiological processes possible. Think of them as the tools or methods cells use to carry out the bigger physiological functions. The mistakes students always get wrong in exams, beginning with diffusion. First of all, we are going to define what diffusion is, and it is the movement of particles from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration until evenly spread. Students get wrong by not knowing that diffusion does not need energy, and secondly, it is not only about gases. Liquids diffuse also. For example, perfume spreading in a room, when you answer questions in diffusion in exams, please always mention concentration gradient. Osmosis, divination. This is the movement of water molecules from a region of high water potential to low water potential across a partially permeable membrane. Partially permeable membrane, or you can just say semi-permeable membrane. What students get wrong is saying from low concentration to high concentration. That is one thing. The other mistake students make is forgetting mentioning the type of membrane. That is, it is semi-permeable or partially permeable. And finally, forgetting that osmosis only involves water. Real-life examples are potato strip experiments, as we have done in the biology practical series, red blood cells in hypotonic solution, plants becoming turgid, especially when it rains. Like at this moment, plants are wilting because it is very shiny. For the examinations, use the term water potential, not concentration. For active transport, it is defined as movement of particles against the concentration gradient using energy or using ATP. ATP is short for adenosine triphosphate. Mistakes students make is 1. Forgetting that active transport needs energy. Secondly, saying it moves from high to low, and that is diffusion. So they confuse active transport and diffusion. And then number 3, not giving examples. And the examples are uptake of mineral ions by root hair cells and absorption of glucose in the intestines. So let's now go over each of these cellular processes in depth, having mentioned the mistakes you make in your examination. So may I start by discussing diffusion? And as we have said earlier, it is the passive movement of molecules from an area of high concentration to low concentration across a membrane. No energy is required. Diffusion is a passive process. Direction. Molecules move down their concentration gradient. Examples: oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange in leaf cells or alveoli. Membrane role. The cell membrane allows small molecules like gases to pass freely. So here are illustrations of diffusion in 2 diagrams. In the first diagram, you are seeing high concentration to low concentration, where the black arrow is pointing, and we have glucose moving from high concentration to low concentration. All right. I think in that diagram, all right, I think we can interpret it further. Now, we come to the second diagram, where we have the membrane showing what is happening, and we have a high concentration and the cell membrane from cell wall. All right. And you can see how the molecules are moving, where there are more to where there are a few. All right. Now, let's give diffusion in real-life example using a diagram. We have a diagram on your left. If you look at that diagram, it's gas exchange in stomata. All right. Structure, you can see the 2 Gandhi cells curved around a central stoma or pore. Open stoma, the one which is on the left, allows gas exchange. Closed stoma on the right restricts exchange to conserve water. The labeling: oxygen out from photosynthesis, carbon 4 oxide in for photosynthesis, water vapor out during transpiration, Gandhi cells with chloroplasts to carry photosynthesis, stoma or central pore where gases pass through, epidermal cells, the cells surrounding the tissue. Function summary: during the day, stomata open to allow carbon 4 oxide for photosynthesis and oxygen out as a byproduct. Water vapor also escapes, contributing to transpiration. At night or underwater stress, stomata close to conserve moisture. Now, let's go to osmosis. This is defined as the passive movement of water across a semi-permeable membrane from a region of high water potential to low water potential. That is, the movement of water molecules across a semi-permeable membrane from a dilute solution to a concentrated one. Semi-permeable membrane. This allows water molecules to pass but blocks any other molecules, like the molecules of solids. Direction. Water moves into the cell when external water potential is high. Volume expansion. Water enters the vacuole, increasing turgor pressure. Tangid state. The cell becomes firm and structurally supported. Examples: root hair cells absorbing water from the soil. So, we have the diagrams explaining what we have just discussed. And you can see the diagram on the right. You have a dilute solution. Water molecules are moving to the concentrated solution. And then we have the semi-permeable membranes dividing that. All right. We have osmosis on the other side. Diagram: higher water potential, low water potential. So semi-permeable membrane there and low water potential. So water moves from where it is more to where it is less. Before I proceed, I would like to look at a special structure found in plant cells. This structure is called plasmodesmata. Plasmodesmata are microscopic channels that connect adjacent plant cells. In other words, they are the microscopic bridges that connect plant cells for nutrient and signal exchange. What is the connection? Plasmodesmata link cytoplasm of adjacent cells, allowing efficient nutrient and signal exchange. And what are the components? It is composed of a plasma membrane, a cytoplasmic sleeve, and a central desmotubule. Symplastic transport enable passive and sometimes active transport of molecules between plant cells. Plasmodesma. This is a narrow cytoplasmic channel linking adjacent cells, if you ask what it is. And if you ask what is a desmotubule, it is a central strand of endoplasmic reticulum running through the plasmodesma. And if you ask what is cytoplasmic sleeve, this surrounds the desmotubule, allowing movement of molecules. And finally, plasma membrane continuity. The membranes of both cells are continuous through the plasmodesma. And so the function is it facilitates symplastic transport, that is, movement of water ions and signaling molecules between cells. So here we have two diagrams illustrating plasmodesmata, looking at it from different angles. All right. And labeled. All right. You can see the plasma membrane, companion cell, desmotubule, the one we have mentioned, plasmodesmata, there in between the cell. Then we have, so actually, the plasmodesmata is actually situated on the cell membrane. or plasma membrane. On the other side, you can see the molecules there, low water potential and high water potential on the other side. And you can see plasma desmotubule, cell wall, and cytoplasm. All right. My dear people, now let's go to active transport. This is the movement of molecules against the concentration gradient using energy, or ATP. I told you ATP means adenosine triphosphate, often through specialized transport proteins in the cell membrane. The uphill movement of molecules across a cell membrane against the concentration gradient powered by cell energy can be another definition you can use. So direction from low concentration to high concentration. That is when you are thinking of the membrane. Energy use requires ATP to power the transport, or ATP fuel the process. Proteins involved, that is transport of proteins. Specialized carrier proteins embedded in the membrane facilitate movement. Examples: uptake of ions like sodium and potassium in root cells, what we call mineral ion uptake in plant roots, and the sodium-potassium pump in nerve cells. This process is vital in maintaining cellular homeostasis and nutrient uptake, especially in plant roots and nerve cells. So we have the diagrams of active transport, two of them as usual. You can see we require the ATP. You see now we have low concentration and high concentration. Instead of molecules moving from high to low, now they are moving to the high concentration. And because it's like climbing a hill, you need the energy known as ATP. All right. So you can see low concentration, high concentration. Molecules are moving from low concentration to high concentration instead of doing what is normally supposed to do. All right, let's move on. So let us compare diffusion and active transport. These are the two key mechanisms of molecular movement across cell membranes, because osmosis is on water only. So feature, diffusion, active transport. The lights had gone off. So let's go on. They have come back. So I repeat: feature, diffusion, and active transport. Energy requirement for diffusion is a passive process, does not require energy. Active transport requires energy because it is an active process. Direction of movement is high to low concentration. For active transport is from low concentration to high concentration. Gradient is for diffusion is down the concentration gradient, and for active transport is against the concentration gradient. Transport proteins not always required. The proteins are not required for diffusion, but for active transport, you have to have those carrier. Always involve carrier proteins. All right, examples for diffusion, we have oxygen and carbon 4 oxide during the process of photosynthesis. And for active transport, you have sodium and potassium ions during the sodium-potassium pump in nerve cells. So now we have the diagram for what we have discussed, that is diffusion versus active transport. All right. the two key mechanisms of molecular movement across cell membrane. So we have diffusion there. You can see the molecules are moving from where they are more to where they are few. All right. Now for active transport, it's the opposite. Okay. They are moving from where they are few to where they are more, but they have to use the energy known as ATP. So we can summarize the cellular transport processes and say this. Diffusion, osmosis, and active transport are membrane transport processes that regulate the movement of substances in and out of cells, ensuring survival and homeostasis. If we classify them, diffusion is passive movement of molecules from high concentration to low concentration. Osmosis is passive movement of water molecules across a selectively permeable membrane, and active transport is movement of molecules against the concentration gradient requiring energy, or ATP. So we have a table there, passive versus active, where we have process, type, energy required, and example. We have diffusion, osmosis, and active transport as the processes. And the types are, we have the passive for diffusion and osmosis, and active for active transport. Energy required for the processes, no for diffusion and no for osmosis, but yes for active transport. Example, for diffusion is oxygen entering cells, osmosis, water uptake in root hairs, and active transport, sodium, potassium pump in nerve cells. A quick comparison: process requires energy, moves from to, needs membrane, what moves. For diffusion, does not require energy, moves from high to low, membrane not always needed, movement of any particles or all the particles. Osmosis, no energy required, moves from high water potential to low water potential, membrane needed, yes, which is semi-permeable, and it is all water molecules only. Active transport, yes, requires energy in form of ATP. It moves from low to high. Membrane is required, yes, and what moves is specific molecules or ions. So guys, it's getting quite late. Let's conclude this tutorial. If this helps you understand cell transport, like the video, subscribe for more biology and maths tutorial. See you in the next lesson. I won't forget to acknowledge the invaluable support of students and fellow educators who have inspired the development of this biology tutorial. Your commitment to learning encourages the creation of clear, accessible educational resources like this one. Credits. This goes to Smart Traveler Memoirs because Thomas Kebicho prepared and designed the tutorial. Thomas Kebicho is an education content creator of biology and mathematics tutorial. So just go to his channel, Smart Traveler Memoirs, and you get these two subject tutorials, that is biology and mathematics. So therefore, I can summarize: content research and script, Smart Travelers Memoirs; voice and presentation, Smart Traveler Memoirs; graphics and diagrams created by Smart Traveler Memoirs; editing and production is Smart Traveler Memoirs. But special thanks to all students, teachers and subscribers who continue to support this channel. 2020.